We've got two presentations in this session. The first one is retaining mobile custom users, one user at a time, by Mehvish Khan and Shilpi Agarwal from Adobe. And the other presentation is optimizing design interface through experimentation by Rasika Irpanwar and Matangi Ramachandran from 24/7. Each presentation will be followed by a Q&A round. So note down your questions and you can ask them at the end of the session and keep the session lively. So without any further delay, let's start with the first presentation. Over to you, to Mehvish and Shilpi.
Thank you. There's a popular saying that goes like, it takes months to find a customer, but seconds to lose one. With the fast-changing technologies, it is very difficult to retain users. I'd like to ask you a few questions, and I'd like to have a raise of hands. How many of us have more than 10 apps in their phones? I guess all of us, right? So did it ever happen to you that you downloaded an app and did not use it after the first time within the first week or within the first month? Also, did it happen that you downloaded an app and uninstalled it within the first week or within the first month because you didn't find it worth enough? It happens to all of us. If the answers to these questions are yes, then you, my friends, are gripped with what can I call the uninstalled syndrome. With more than 22 billion apps available within just a few touches, user retention is a serious problem. A 2015 survey reveals that less than 70% of the users return to the app within the first day of the use. After a 30-day period, the numbers plummet well down to 3%. I'm Mehvish Khan, along with Shilpi Agarwal from the Adobe Document Cloud team. We will share some tips and tricks for a wholesome and delightful customer experience. For the first trick, start connecting with your users. The more you connect, the healthier the relationship becomes. A highly active customer engagement goes a long way in ensuring that the customers remain loyal to the product. A loyal customer may choose to report an issue. More often, he might choose to contact the developer to get the issue fixed. So a customer success story goes from identifying issues early in the cycle, fixing them, and completing the loop by notifying the users. We'll share the examples of our organization, how we have been going about with customer engagement. So we receive close to 40,000 monthly reviews on the Google Play Store. Apart from that, we solicit feedback via the Adobe forums and the support mailing list. All these channels are easily accessible to the engineering team, and we monitor traffic through all these channels. There is a customer engagement custodian who aggregates all these feedback for over a period of month, and these feedbacks are then classified into feature requests, usability issues, and functional bugs. These eventually get translated to our backlog items. So after the incessant efforts of our teams, here are some customer success stories that we'd like to share with you that the users have reported on the Google Play Store. Moving on. Now, after we know what the users want, it is important that we stay up to date with what's latest and what's in demand. So the next trick would be stay up to date with the latest platform technologies. With the fast-changing design paradigms, it is important that apps keep up with what's latest in technology. As you can see, there was a material design which was introduced with Android and flat design which was introduced for iOS. The apps which could not comply with these were seen as technologically backward. It always plays with the minds of the customer that if the developer of the app is not invested in the app, cannot keep up to date with what's latest, then why should I use this app? Apart from giving the app a modern look and feel, updating the app with what's latest also opens doors to a wide variety of features that could be leveraged to attract more customers. So as you can see, after we updated our app on iOS, we could integrate the storage access. This is the system file picker, and this is the storage access framework on Android, which could only be added because we started supporting the newer OS versions. However, a word of caution here. while redesigning the applications or doing a new feature, the developers more often get overwhelmed. You can compare it with an all-you-can-eat buffet where you get a wide variety of options and you want to eat all of them, right? So this is kind of similar to that. So we need to make sure that while redesigning the application or while adding a new feature, we don't obscure the most used workflow, and we always provide the shortest path for that. A case study of our app would help understand this better. So with the introduction of Android Lollipop in June 2014, there was a UI overhaul that was planned for an app. So there were a lot of options that were available. We were provided with a lot of interesting design components. And aiming to leverage the same, we started providing a local file listing in this floating action button. So if you're versed with Android development, you might know this is a new technology. The apps like Gmail and all are also using this. So we started providing our local PDF files in this. This was a marked change from our initial design where our local PDFs were available in this area, which is the documents area. It was right in front of the application. So when we released the app in December 2014, it met with a huge backlash. The users thought that we had apparently made all their local files deleted. So we went back to our customers and as we said in the first slides, you need to go back to your customers, understand their pain points, and then improve the app. So we understood their pain point, we realized what the problem was, and soon an update followed where we brought back the file listing back in front of the application. We notified all these users, asked them to update their app and update their rating. Eventually, our app, which had gone down to 4.0, which was the rating after this release, had gone up back to our initial average of 4.4. The next trick, use analytics. So analytics are a very important tool to understand what the users are doing and what's the most used workflow. Machine learning can help consume the analytics data, which can further help analyze the user patterns. So an idea of doing this is to create clusters of users and understand what are the user workflows or user paths that are making the users convert to a subscribed user. So using Venn diagrams of these user paths, we can create a set of functionalities which can then be used to convert our free users to our subscribed users. So we were using in-app messaging and prompts, which helped us to further convert our free user base to our subscribed user base. So Shilpi will be sharing the next set of tricks. Over to you.
Thanks, Navish. So I'll take the journey forward from here. Another trick that can help create new user base as well as ensuring the satisfaction of existing users is a highly rated app. New users, they find a highly rated app to be more lucrative, as well as existing users, they tend to stay more loyal towards a highly rated app even in trying times. Users must be prompted at the point of delight in order to rate any app. That is, when they complete a workflow successfully or they achieve something within the app. A similar experiment, when it ran for our app on iOS, it actually increased the average rating of our app from 3.5 to 4. But too much prompts and too much marketing is not good for any app. Here are some words of caution on how we can decide on the visibility of such marketing content. Frequent paywalls in marketing content may inundate the users who use the app for bare minimum of features. Such users, they actually form the major user base for any applications, and annoying such users, it might turn the tide on us. Let's take a look at the case study which can help us with the learnings in this sphere. When we first launched our paid services on iOS, we were stuck with the issue of very low sales because of the scarce visibility of the marketing content. Thus, when we launched the same services for Android, we started showing the marketing content right on the face of the user in the file browser. However, this did not work for us and we were inundated with a lot of user complaints. This whole experience, this provided us with a very valuable insight as to how we could strike a balance between usability as well as marketing content in such a way that it provides a very optimal experience and educates the paid users as well as provides easy navigation to our free users. As you can take a look here in this video, as soon as the user opens the file, he's presented with the marketing content, which is not a good experience and it's quite annoying for the user. It seems there's some issue with this video, okay. Whereas on the right, the user first has to select the tool, the particular tool he wants to use, and then the marketing content is shown to the user. So which is the right thing to do, right? Partnerships. Partnerships, they play a key role in deriving benefits for both the partners. Given the users, they now store a large number of files on cloud these days. In a strategic partnership with the leading cloud provider, we started listing their files in our app. Similarly, the cloud storage providers, the users, while trying to open the file, the app started prompting the users to open their files in our app. This whole integration, it's designed in such a way that the user, he doesn't have to log in again and again in both the apps, and the integration was quite seamless. As you can see in this video here, if the user, he is already logged in into his cloud storage provider app, he is not required to log in again in our app while linking the account, and his files get listed. This partnership, it not only helped us achieve the best ever ratings in last 1 year, but it also helped us create a user base of 383,000 in a single month. Another trick that can do the magic is conducting user testing while launching new features. A good way to solve usability problems is to run experiments with multivariate testing. Clusters of users can be created, each of which can then be provided with a different set of variables for the same experiment, and then the feedback from them can be collated. As you can see here in this graph, the Nielsen normal study, it reveals the number of usability problems reported for a usability test with n number of users. The striking results of this study revealed that more than 1/3 of the problems, they were reported just with a single user. And pretty interestingly, the number of reported problems, they decrease as the number of users increase. It is therefore highly encouraged to have a set of 5 users, each of which can then provide almost 75% of the valuable insights into any experiment. We hope that this session will help you in delivering a customer experience which is much, much bigger than your product. Please remember that every single user retained is not only a saved asset, but it's an invitation to other users. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity.
A wonderful presentation. So we all are aware customer retained is a customer gain. Now let's move to our next session by Matangi and Rasika.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matangi and she's Rasika, and we are going to take you through how data plays a critical role in design. We are from 24/7, and 24/7 is into big data and predictive analytics, and using that we drive better customer experience. So we'll quickly see how we can use design and data together and raise a combined. So little bit, let's go back, relax and see this, right? So this is President Obama's presidential campaign, and this was on his website, right? So they wanted to improve the performance of this campaign and collect more donations. So the designers came up with some 3 options of images. If I can quickly take a vote here, image A, image B, image C, who would have thought what would have won here? Image A, B, okay. Anybody for image C? C, okay. So yeah, there's a tie between image B and image C, and then let's move to the buttons now. So join us now, sign up, learn more, sign up now, right? Join us now, okay. Any other vote for anything else? Learn more, okay. So the designers came up with some combinations, and all the combinations were tested. So there were totally 24 combinations. three images and these 4 buttons. And we also did one quick thing. The way typically any design process happens is the mock-ups are made, and then then there are intuition and lot of discussions driving which design to take for the next round of testing, right? So similar to that approach, what we did was we quickly ran an internal survey, and then we asked people, which do you think would perform better, right? So image B plus join us, image C plus join us, image B plus learn more. These were the top trending ones. And are you interested in seeing the results, the actual results which performed the campaign? So that was the one. So people can take a credit, whoever said image B, and learn more, right? And in fact, when this was analyzed, what was noted was the impact of image B was as good as just changing the text in the button, which was learn more, right? So, and do you know how much incrementality just this resulted in? Not changing the demographics of targeting, not putting money in Google AdWords, nothing, right? Just changing the picture and changing the text on the button, right? So that's an whooping 60 million donations additional, right? So that's the power that we're going to demonstrate that we have done in our work in using design and data together, and using data as a fundamental element for making designs happen, right? Rather than data being an afterthought of measurement. But here we are going to demonstrate a methodology in which you can use data to be the deciding factor, as well as combining the hypothesis from design and how we can together create lots of business impact. So we went a little back. We'll go some more further, right? And we'll just take a quick bit on this history here. So this was 1000 BC, and till 19th century there was a practice of what is called as bloodletting, right? So to cure some of the diseases like pneumonia, they used to let go of some of the blood, and there were all kind of theories on whether this is good or this is bad, right? So now enter the scientist of Charles Louis, right? What he did was he did an experiment. This was, imagine way back when anybody thought of using experimentation in the clinical area, right? So he used an experiment, and he tried letting groups into 2 things, right? He tried the treatment in 2 different groups. One where he was doing the bloodletting to 1 to 4 days and 5 to 9 days, and eventually proved that the 1 to 4 days, kind of had no impact. The 5 to 9 days had an impact, because by that time the disease has already settled. Now this was the fundamental point in which bloodletting itself was questioned, and people stopped treating pneumonia in that way. So he was one of the so to say a stepping stone for experimentation to be brought in, where there are a lot of theoretical debates. And then we come to the era of R.A. Fisher and Taguchi, where they widely propagated this methodology of experimentation, where they break a hypothesis in where they break let's say a method into a bunch of hypotheses and test these hypotheses with random samples, and these were the forerunners in that area. In fact, we also figured out that once Toyota was in bankruptcy, about to be bankruptcy, so Taguchi played a critical role in setting up those experiments and proving to what works and what doesn't work, and that's one of the critical reasons how Toyota came out of the bankruptcy. So now we come back to today. So, and what is the challenge we face in e-commerce design, and how this practice can make a big difference, right? So we want to get to the best possible design fast, but just because we want to get it fast, we don't want to drive it through intuition. That's how it happens today, right? But we want to drive it more by data and less by intuition. That doesn't mean intuition doesn't play a role, don't get us wrong. It does play a critical role, but introducing data at the initial stage of design makes a lot of difference. That's what we're trying to demonstrate. I'll move over to Rasika.
Hi, my name is Rasika. I work as Senior Analytical Consultant. Okay, just a second. Am I audible? So I work as a Senior Analytical Consultant here in 24/7. I'll be walking you through some of the retail client example and dwell deep into the methodology what we are using. So this is our retail client RWZ. Don't jump into the conclusions. It's some random picked up alphabets. I hope everybody is sound enough and listening over here. Not everybody is dull, right? I'll try to make it as light as possible, maybe like a water. So yeah, so this is the original chat invite. Just one note before this, I would be interchangeably using design of experiments and DOE all throughout my talk. And in 24/7 we have proactive chat invites. It means we all have chatted to our customer care representatives on sites when we have seen there's a problem or we want to talk to them about any issue. So proactive chat invite is triggered or popped up during the journey of the website when the visitor is online to see how our representatives can help them. So here I interchangeably use it as chat invite. So this is the original chat invite. We just had a chat now button and avatar where there is a man in that. So I'm specifically saying there's a human being, a man. I'll come to that later. So yeah. So basically your design hypothesis is what is important in this. UX research, we have a UX research team who dwell deep into what is the brand, what are the brand guidelines, what has to go into a variable change if you want to change any kind of invite and how it should look. So when a brand interacts with its audience, it interacts through radio, TV, other different mediums, and the customer's behavior on every other medium is different. So we need to do a research, like how will he react on an online website, and hence a lot of research goes on this and usability, doing some competitor analysis, and then is when they come up with the variables what they want to change to see if there is a change in any kind of acceptance rate. I'll come to that, what is an acceptance rate, and if there can be anything which we can do to lift the conversions. So over the period of time, these are the factors which we have tested out. Elements being factors, details are the gradients of that elements and design category. So for example, I'll just pick up few of them. For example, if you say size of invite, 1, 5 and not 5. So these are the size of proactive chat invites which I had shown you some time before. So even a size of invite can make a change, and we have used it in many of the clients. And then you can see invite background, either it is color, image, texture or pattern. So we have different gradients, 4 gradients of this, like one of the invite might have color as a background or something different, image as a background, which had already given us quite a good results. Moving forward. So even before we look at this, when we perform an experiment, we need to answer a few questions. What are the questions? Why do we want to perform an experiment? Anybody? Why do we want to perform an experiment? Okay, so that question can be anything, right? So either you are looking for a customer engagement, or then there's some problem with conversions, especially when we talk about companies, they look at conversion, sorry. So, or then what is your outcome? So here we had an acceptance problem. Our retail client had a low acceptance rate. So basically acceptance rate is how many times the invite was shown upon how many times he has chosen to chat it through. So that's what we call as acceptance rate, is a function of design. Now when you look in this details, there are actually 5 factors and which have 2 levels. So border, transition, sound, text color and text cases. You can notice that everything has 2 levels, meaning 2 gradients. So red border with a dark shadow versus a border with lighter shadow. This is one of the factor which has 2 levels. Again, sound, yes. Notification, yes or no. So do you want a sound to be heard when a invite pops up, or it's only you want to have just a plain invite? So everything has 2 levels, which actually comes up to the 2 raised to 5, that means 32 combinations. Now 32 combinations is not a small thing. We have given a very less time framework plus the cost incurred in this. So what we do is, as Matangi has explained sometime before about Taguchi, Taguchi has a very good way of cutting down the experiments. That's called as orthogonal arrays. So what is orthogonal arrays? We have independent variables. These are all independent variables. So independent variables, you can just pick up these 5 factors with 2 levels and just go through orthogonal array, and you can pick up the matrix and design a matrix. So that from 32 combinations, you just come to 8 combinations, and you can still test all of the designs, most of the designs. So yeah, moving on to the next one. Can you take a guess on which of these 8 invites won? This is all the combination of all the 5 factors with 2 levels, which is composed on 8 of them. Okay, I'll just go ahead and then. The first, that last or this last? Second last, okay. Okay. Let's see who wins. The top one? Okay, sure. Let's see the results after some time. So what we basically do is one more thing to this, that 8 variations are placed on 8 different TPs and they are assigned randomly. So person who's coming to the website, for example, 100 people come to your site, out of which you're giving 40 of it for experimentation. So that is divided into all this 8, so 5% each. Every variation of the chat invite is shown to 5% of the population, so 5 people should be looking at that. I'm just giving you an example as 500. So it is randomly assigned to all the TP groups. We run it for 3 to 4 weeks, depends. If it is 8 designs, it's for 3 to 4 weeks. It's more designs, we run it for a little longer time. And here are the results. So this is the basic data set what we have. To calculate the data, to calculate the results, you can use R, Python, or then there is a Minitab software or JPMC software. We have used R, and this is our data set. We ran a GLM model to level the data. And on top of that, we are running an ANOVA. ANOVA is analysis of variance, where you can get which are the significant factors. So factors being 5 factors what we had seen. So which of that were the significant variables, wherein you can see sound being the most significant variable with transition. So here was our hypothesis, design hypothesis, saying that maybe the chat invite wasn't that intuitive. It wasn't triggering where it should be. So the sound and the transition actually made an impact. And people and the customers who are coming online could see it and they started chatting. So this gave a very good impressive result. Oh, okay, sorry. This is a winning invite with a red border. And this is the transition. I don't know, the sound is not being played. Okay, sorry. Wait there. So the results were pretty impressive. It is 14.3% incrementality we got, which is quite high, because when you test your banners, banner ads, or ad retargeting, you just see 1 to 2% of incrementality, wherein you got 14.3%, which is quite a good number. And this 14.3% is totally on your control group, over the control group. So the 8 variants were tested on the test group, and control group would have the actual original invite, which I showed at the start. So when you're measuring, you will measure it against what was the older one. So you get this much we got this much incrementality on this. So coming back to what kind of testings we can do, predominantly in e-commerce or online, we just do A/B tests most of the times. There are few others who do other kind of tests. There are also like split testing, then you have full factorial, fractional factorial testings, or then there are a couple of like shotgun testing, wherein like you just have to try one factor at a time. So one factor at a time is not possible because it's time consuming. Also, a lot of cost is incurred in this, and many companies would not want to do that. So A/B testing versus design testing, when we see A/B testing, you will have just an A and a B template, and you will know what is the winner, and you would know what is the percentage conversion in that. But when you look at the design of experiments, you have one invite or one template in which you can change, you can break down the template and test each and every component of it, and you would know which one of that is significant. So finally, you know what has made the impact, not which template has made the impact, but which significant variable has made an impact. So design of experiments are quite powerful, and we haven't seen many people using this in the online industry. As Matangi has said, so offline industry, in the manufacturing industry, is still being used. It's still being used in Ford cars, Mitsubishi. Name the car company, you have it there. But we haven't been using it online. We already started using it, and it has given quite a good results. We had been running design of experiments for like 4 to 5 years now, and vertical wise, we have seen quite a good acceptance rate in all chat invites. So this is vertical specific, like Lightbox and sound might be for telecom clients. And as I said, right, human faces and female agents. So this has a pretty much good impact on every client, on every chat invite what we have. So say we don't perform an experiment, we just put a female face and it still works. So as you know, right, Salman Khan's Lux Cozy ad, there's no need of a female, but still she comes. But that's a marketing strategy what they do, right? So in everything, a female is needed. So we have seen that female agents work quite better, and human interaction, human faces is quite better than just a blank invite. So I have tried to put this in the next slide. So this is a Lightbox Effect, where it blacks out the whole website. This is an invite and then a transition. Not sure if the sound comes again. It came. So final takeaway, experimentation is not a afterthought, it's the thought. So for people who are at quite a good designations, I would want to say that please do more experimentation. The more we experiment, the more we learn, and the more the organizations earn. Thank you. Any questions? Sorry. Orthogonal matrix. So what you can do is you can, so Taguchi has, for example, if you have 2 factors or 3 factors, and with levels, like say you have 3 factors, say sound, color of an invite, and one more, background, say. So if you have 3 and which are of 2 level, then you can just go for an L4 array, which is already established by Taguchi. It's a methodology or algorithm which he has explained, and you can just pick up the matrix of the design. And then you have the whole matrix which a design team or the UX researchers design. Yeah, you would know which is a significant one, or if all of the 3 are significant one.
So if you have 3 variables, and then you have to say what are the levels that these variables can take, right? So it not only tell you which of, let's say you have color and sound and animation, right? And in each I want to test a red and a green color. And the sound I want to test with sound file 1 and sound file 2 or sound file 3. So what this method will help you do is when you're running the experiment itself, you're setting them up. So hence when you measure it, it will tell you whether in sound file 1 was it more successful. Sound as a whole, was it a determining factor or not? As well as whether the color green worked with this one. In fact, there are advanced techniques with which you can also measure the interaction, for example, of when the sound, does it have any other correlation with green, right, for example. So those are the things also you can test using this technique.
It's kind of giving the association as well as the feature as a whole.
Yeah. So the takeaway could, so let's say you want to, the best part about it is once you know which are the few variables that's performing well, and what levels in the factors are performing well, then later on, the next set of experiments you're running, you can keep this in mind and you can test something else.
So this doesn't stop here. You keep experimenting. You just carry forward these significant variables for your next experiment what you're performing. So it's a continuous process. You keep learning and then you keep biding it to the next experiment what you're doing.
Thank you.
Any other question?
So basically when you say design of experiments, it's quantitative, qualitative, you can have whatever you wish to. Like it can be numbers, it can be colors, categorical factors, or anything. It's just that you have to define the factor and the levels to that.
So that's what, I don't know if I got your question right. If you're meaning the qualitative factor, right? So the designer is at the heart of this whole exercise, right? The designer who comes and says, based on his or her qualitative analysis, the person sits with us and says that, okay, here are the things, some of the hypotheses I had. I've always had this, that, people don't see a banner which is on the top, but they see it when it is right close to their eyes. For example, right? That could be a hypothesis. Or I believe in contrast. I want to test whether contrast works or not contrast. Not so much contrast works, right? Or they can say a human face works or a brand image of that website works. So that is where a huge qualitative discussion happens. But once we arrive at, okay, here are the top variables you want to test, and it also depends on how much website traffic that website has, and depending on that we arrive at, okay, let's test these important factors which you think are important, but we test it in a very systematic way. They do. Here, the design is at the heart of the thing, right? We don't come up with elements. The design team works with us and comes up with the elements, and then this is, so look at it more like, I'm sure there are lots of designers
It's a
here, right?
toolkit, the way you said, right? It's a designer's toolkit.
Yeah, it's a designer's toolkit, right? It's a toolbox for the designers to kind of establish certain facts and also learn from there and keep improvising from there.
Which is quite basic of data sciences just to get the results and all. So yeah.
Any other question?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, please.
So there was this slide that talked about different combinations and what percentage of the total traffic they were driving. Like you had 25% traffic, each experiment getting 25% of traffic, and there was some conversion rate that was happening. So I think the design of experiments is a pretty good concept when you consider subtle changes, for example, changing the border or changing the color. But when you need to define a workflow or you need to find out what the correct placement would be, wouldn't the investment of the developers be like that would be really big as compared to the number of conversions that are happening across these? For example, if even there is a 1% difference between two different experiments, would the investment that goes into making those two different experiments would be worth it?
Yeah, so good question. Design of experiments is not just for minor changes. Though we have showed you some of the cases of minor changes, we also wanted to bring up the point, things that we perceive, meaning kind of think it's minor, it's actually a major impact on the consumer, right? But having said that, so there are different ways to look at it, right? So let's say you want to test workflow A versus workflow B, and like I said, there's a huge qualitative discussion with designer before we proceed to any of the data steps here. So during the qualitative discussion, you can also put in the investment in time or the cost here and decide which are the ones you want to test and which are the ones you do not want to test, and which are the top level ones you want to say. For example, right, you can break things like, when we were doing this, there was a huge discussion on, hey, should we test layout, right? If you test layout, then there's no point testing other things because the layout in itself depends certain variables on. So in such cases, the decision we make is, say, first let's test the layout, we freeze on this, then we vary the minor ones in that. So those are some of the approaches we can, but what happens is when it comes to product development especially, right, experimentation is like an afterthought, right? It is like a nice to have thing, but it is not a must have thing. And the reason being that people think that experimentation, okay, can give you 1% lift, can give you 2% lift, it is not that important, right? But what we have, the first one, with even, political parties, it's a big one. It's like this $60 million impact we showed you, right? So it depends on what priority the company wants to put and wants to invest in this. If the product is built in such a way that it inherently supports experimentation, then a lot of the things can also be possible. And designers can make that difference happen in an organization.
And continuously you have to work on the customer engagement, right? How do you engage them and how good and intuitive your website is or the chat is as such for our example. So yeah, we keep running the experiments and then you get more data about it.
Thank you.
So thank you, Matangi. Thank you,
Thank
Rasika,
you.
for
Thank you.
summing it up so well.